Good afternoon, everyone. This is Veterans Benefits 101 with Chal. So if you're not looking for this session, I can direct you to the next room. But this is your presenter. Are you presenting too? And Victor, moral support. So I'll take it away.
Do I need to use the mic or can everybody hear me?
Yeah, microphone, please.
Mic for the recorder, all right. Can you guys hear me? There we go.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. I am Chal. I am the Enhancement Program Supervisor for WDVA. This is VA Benefit Overview 101. This is not to make you a service officer. This is very surface level understanding of the different federal benefits that are out there. The sheets that that are going around for everybody, this is recently updated benefits available through federal VA and state benefits from 0% through 100%. If you look at the very last page, this is not all inclusive because I put this together. I am bound to make a mistake. This is on our website. You're able to go on there and pull it whenever you want. And on the top right hand corner, every time I update it, there will be a new date on there. It will get updated because there were changes in the past legislature session for times that benefits will change, such as the property tax exemption, which is listed on there. It's 80%. It will drop by 20% for the next couple of years until it hits 40. So those changes and benefits change in general. So also included on there is a front and back printout for how to apply for VA healthcare, the most underused benefit that almost every single veteran can qualify for, or that they don't apply for. The front page talks about how to apply, the different ways outside of going to a accredited service officer or to your local VA. That's how to apply on your own. All the documents that are needed. And then on the back side, it answers a bunch of common questions that people have regarding VA healthcare. This is the best tool that I have ever given somebody when I meet with them about VA healthcare, because it answers a bunch of the questions that they're gonna have. And so it gets you freshed up on answers for when they ask you about it. VA has multiple sheets like this that are front and back that's on their website, and I give them out like candy because they created this based upon the questions that they get all the time. No different than the questions that we get all the time, but this is approved by them. I highly recommend you look through those sheets on the VA's website. It's very good, just general information on application of stuff or answering questions on different programs that the VA has that are very popular. So we'll move from there. I just wanted to make sure everybody kind of understood what I gave out to you. There's a whole bunch of them. Please take them. You can take as many as you want, and it's also on our website too. So these are the topics that we'll cover today, and like I said earlier, it's just going to be very surface level. We're not going to go in depth because 90 minutes is not enough time to go in depth. It's just going to be a general understanding. That way when you meet with people, you're able to kind of do some quick understanding in your head of what you think that they might be eligible for, or if you're going to look at multiple things at once. The longer you do it, the faster that you can do this in your head, and then you don't even have to kind of do it in your head. You can just listen to them and go right from there. So I kind of refuse to read off everything on the slide. It's there for you. I'm not going to read everything word for word. So if you need me to go over something that I say that's not going to be very specific on the slide, just ask, okay? And also, please no claims questions in the middle of going through this. As we go through the topics, we'll do the questions at the end, because that'll kind of get us derailed. Okay, so service-connected disability, right? What is service-connected disability? Something, an injury that they get while they're in service, or aggravation of an injury, that existed before, that they receive a monetary compensation benefit from the federal VA 4. If you were in the last session, they kind of talked about it 0 to 100. Every 10% gets a increase. You know, the most common question that you get is, oh, hey, well, I've got 10 10s, why am I not at 100? You know, it doesn't work like that. General rule of thumb, just something that a lot of people don't know. Rough estimate, it takes about 240% to make it to 100. You can, it's right around, I think it's 120 overall percent when you tally it up. Total of 240 to make it to 100. I think it's 120 is kind of where you hit the 90 mark. So imagine going double. That's the, kind of general rule of thumb. It's about 240%. The lowest that I've ever seen it is about 210, and that's your bilateral factors when, for stuff like that.
That's VA math, right?
Yeah. So, but it's just if you're looking at somebody's stuff to determine how far away they are when they're, oh, I'm at 90, how do I go up from 90 to 100? And you tally it up and they're at 150, well, you've got another 90 to go, so you have another 90 somewhere. So it's just something good to know. I like passing that around because a lot of people don't know it. Types of claims. I hate this wording, but I didn't know what else to really call it because it's technically not types of claims, right? For VA, their types of claims are, your 010s, your 020s, your 170s. Their types of claims are, the pension, the DP codes is how they do types of claims. So I didn't really want to word it like this, but I didn't kind of know what else to call it. These are the most common claims that you do or see that are kind of specific for a certain certain condition that you're looking for, right? So BDD claim has to be done a certain way. There's the different forms that are required for the BDD to file the BDD claim for them to even accept it into the program, right? 180 to 90 days. So Victor is our BDD guy from JBLM, him, Jordan, and Sean. But so, 180 to 90 days with the mandate of 2 other forms from the VA that have to be submitted with it, or it does not get accepted into the BDD program, and they will sit there until they're out, and then they'll process it as a normal claim, and that claim went from, that veteran now is going to get paid a year later because the claim is going to be processed as once they finally get out of service, right? Same thing for secondary, you're moving on from another item that's already connected. The aggravation, we'll say aggravation is one of the hardest things to prove. It needs to be very well documented. Generally, the rule for aggravation is no medicine to medicine, right? No treatment to treatment is kind of what you're looking for on aggravation. You go in with asthma, you had an inhaler, you get out, you're trying to file for asthma, you still have your inhaler. What's the new treatment in there that aggravated it versus when you went in? I say asthma because it's one of the most common ones that people go in with. Then you have special circumstance claims, the housebound aid and attendance. Yet again, requires another form. When you're having to get a 2680, then you're having to discern on, what's the difference in housebound aid and attendance. We'll go over that stuff later because there's, 2 different kind of factors inside of there. Very brief overview, documents that are needed to file a claim. Discharge document, because you need to make sure that they have the proper discharge or what kind of discharge they do have to see if there's going to be another kind of circumstance to apply for their time to be counted as honorable if they had an other than honorable or anything under, whatever it might be for VA purposes. The in-service records, because we are looking for a service-connected disability, so we're looking for something that's in service. So you need to review the records before you're filing the claim to make sure that that was either documented in there or they're providing documentation that's proven that condition was caused from their time in service or an opinion that is saying that. And then the other supporting documents, so any kind of medical documents, any kind of lay statements, witness statements, buddy statements that you can get to support whatever the items are that you're putting on that claim, right? more evidence you have, generally the better off you're gonna be, because you're gonna have, the VA then has more opinions or items to overturn. You're putting in more things in your favor. Rule of thumb when you're doing this is be vague enough to get your point across, but specific enough so the VA understands what you're asking about, right? If you say it's, this one singular, what is it? My right index finger, right? Versus my right hand, but it wasn't my index finger, it was this middle finger, and you are turning in all these documents, and the doctor says, oh no, it's not that. Vague. Same thing with the statements, unless you're pinpointing something specifically in the records, right? And that's really what you should be doing if it's only mentioned once or twice. Hey, on page 84 of their medical record, it mentions this. Page 84 in the medical record is where you can find the support documentation for this item or whatever it may be. The more stuff you do that and you put them in the right direction, the better off you're going to be, versus having to go back and find it later when they say, hey, where's the proof of this, right? So that's kind of, documentation is very wide ranging, and so it's very subjective as well as far as what you want to put in there. I don't know, I like putting in a bunch of stuff as far as making sure you get the point across, but not too much. So how to file a claim, I'm not sure how many of you are service officers or just people that are understanding the claim. The best thing that you can do is reach out to your local accredited service officer. And so the different ways to do that are, you can go on DBA's website, and we have a county map resource tool that you can go on there and click your county, and we list all the resources there in your county that we go through, and you're able to reach out and find the one closest to you. You can call our 800 number, which I highly recommend, because that's where I work, is down there in the central office in the service center. And so you can call our 800 number and we'll get you, and you don't even have to do any digging. You just phone that number right there, and before you're hanging up, you're gonna have a phone number to the closest place for you. Another way is you can go through VA's research tool on the OGC website, and you can type in your location and that you want a claims representative. Policy specific for service officer. When you do the lookup, I can't remember. I think it says service officer, claims representative, and attorney.
It is specific for
So
service
you can
officers.
do service officer, which is going to be free, and your location, and that's going to give you every accredited service officer in that area. And it's going to give you a phone number and an address. And so that way you're only going to talk to somebody accredited, versus you call your local American Legion post. 9 times out of 10, if you call a post, regardless of what type of organization it is, those are generally volunteers, and you're not talking to an accredited person. General rule of thumb, right? So you want to talk to somebody who is accredited because they're getting paid to do this, and they've been trained, and you know that they've been trained. So it's always really good. The our website's really good. We keep it updated, the county map, and it changes because there's people that phone numbers change, addresses change, or they go away and they kind of shut a location down. So the PATAC, this was the big expansion in 2022 for Agent Orange. It added MGUS and hypertension for the conditions. And then it also added the new locations for Agent Orange exposure, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Guam, and there's one more. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But so added new locations for presumptive areas for Agent Orange, which has been huge. And then because now these veterans who were fighting for Agent Orange exposure for Thailand, which was the biggest one because I'd been doing this prior to the PATAC, and I would fight for them, all kinds of evidence and documents to get them connected for exposure while they were in Thailand. Now that got added, those a lot of the people that I helped the veteran pass away before it got approved or anything like that, and even after it was denied, now their spouse is eligible for a potential DIC benefit, because now they've presumed, if all the other qualifications met, right? And then for, well, it's not just post 9/11, but Gulf War and on, they added the new locations for exposure to fine particulate matter. I know I typed it up very specific. Yeah, so burn pits, Agent Orange, so toxic exposure. So most common acronym that you're going to hear now based on the PACT change is TARA, Toxic Exposure Risk Assessment, which is where they go through and look to see if that veteran was exposed to, had a toxic exposure. It's not just location specific. They're looking for location specific because that's going to allow for the presumptives, but also toxic exposure based upon MOS, and well, there's like 8 different categories now. But so that opens up those same items. It's just a little hard. They're not presumptive now, but it opens up if you have if the veteran has a positive TARA exposure memo that goes in their file. And so this is huge because this was where 22 items got added for 19 or Gulf War and on for that whole side of it. And it's all respiratory related generally because it's the biggest one was the fine particulate matter. Everybody says burn pits, but really the item that would is classified under is the fine particulate matter, which is you're inhaling and it's going through your respiratory system, and your respiratory system is directly connected to the brain. That's where 18 of those items got added, is respiratory and brain. So huge, major changes that we have seen. We had what, an 80% increase on claims since the PACT Act has been added, like since it's been passed?
Honestly, 150 for RHS.
Okay.
150% increase for WDV.
Yeah, for WDVA. So it went from 2,500 claims to 4,500, whatever it was. It was huge.
Last year, I believe it was 17,000 just by WDV accredited service officers. Sorry.
That mic keeps breaking out.
I know. I thought it's just me and my crackling voice.
I think maybe if you talk straight into it, maybe.
So the next type of claim is pension and survivor's pension, right? So the qualifications for these are the same, so I just lumped them together, right? It's 2 different programs, but the veteran has to meet the same qualifications for pension, and they had to meet the same qualifications for survivor's pension. So this is not your standard pension when you think of it, and this is the explanation that you have to give all the time because this is one of the programs that I run, and this is 90% of the claims that she does are pension and survivor's pension. This is a low income driven program based upon the federal poverty line or poverty limit. That's what it's not your retirement. It's a low income based program. So it's a needs based program, and there's a bunch of items that have to be met for this qualification. So you have to meet one of these 4 items first. So I kind of look at everything as when you're looking at pension, survivor's pension, there's 4 different categories that I'm going through and checking the box to see if they meet the criteria, right? So box number 1 is, are they meeting one of these right here? Are they over 65? Do they have a permanent total disability? Are they receiving SSDI? Are they in a nursing home? See, I didn't even have to look at the slide because I do this all the time. So you're looking for one of those. If they meet that, awesome. And then you move on to the next one. Not a dishonorable discharge. So pre-19, so November of 1980. Prior to that, they needed 90 days of total active service, with one of those days being in a wartime period. Yes.
Quick question. What about if they have re-enlisted in a second enlistment?
Say again, please.
Okay, I'll answer that one now. So that is where, so the question was if they re-enlisted and then the second enlistment is a bad conduct discharge. So that's a whole different fight that you go through with the VA to try and they'll essentially say, hey, we see that you had a bad conduct discharge when you got out. Tell us why this time should be counted as honorable. you have to submit a whole bunch of stuff. There's a huge packet. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to refer somebody to, because I'm down in Olympia, I'm going to refer them to Northwest Justice. That is who I will send them to, because there's about 12 different things that the VA says, hey, please send us some, some of these supporting documents right here of why it should be counted as honorable. You take everything, you turn it into the VA, they review it, and they will determine if they want to count just the first enlistment, if it was a good enlistment, or if they will count the entirety of it. That's a whole different ballgame. If you come across people like that, the best thing you can do is refer them to Northwest Justice, NVLSP, something like that, and have them assist, because I've done it, it's not fun, and I'd rather have an actual legal person help submit these documents, because I look at it as a legal case of why I'm fighting for this, right? Not just a claim. This is like a, hey, I want this time to count. So that's what I do. And so those are generally, those are gonna be free services that they offer. So, but yeah, it's a whole thing, and it takes really long. It takes about 6 months for the VA to make a decision, if they get everything. And then they'll say, hey, we'll count it as honorable or we won't. So that's a whole separate thing. So pre-November 1980, you needed 90 days active duty, with one of those days being during a wartime period. I have the wartime periods next. Post November 1980, it is now 24 months with one of those days being in a wartime period. So next slide. Oh, okay. So go back. Sorry. Okay, so wartime periods, so I guess I didn't put the slide in here. So you have World War II, World War I, World War II. So I do pension claims all the time, and I've yet to see a World War I. I get a bunch of World War II. Vietnam, so when you look at the wartime periods, you have to be very specific for Vietnam. So Vietnam has 2 different time frames that you look at when you're looking through pension and survivor's pension. There's in-country in Vietnam that you look at, which has its own dates, which is 1960 to 1975, I believe. And then it's outside of Vietnam is 64 to 75. And so there's actual specific months and dates that have to be on there. And then for Gulf War, it goes from 75 to 1990. And so it's from 1990 until current. There has been no termination on the Gulf War timeframe counting. So everything from 1990 and on, as long as they served the 24 months, they served inside of that. It's a wartime period. They haven't closed off the wartime period. Everybody keeps asking when the VA is going to do it. If everybody would stop asking and continue to let it go on, it's only going to benefit your fellow veterans who might potentially be low income when we get of that time frame, right? Because the longer it goes on, the more people that are eligible for the program. So I like to tell people, don't ask. Continue to let it ride and go, because it's just going to benefit your fellow veterans. So 75 to 1990, if they served during that time, it's not a wartime period. Even if they told you I was in Panama, or I was in Somalia, or whatever it may be, there's no wartime period that the VA counts for that, so they are ineligible for pension or survivor's pension. And it's kind of the worst thing you have to do is tell people, look, well, you're not eligible for this, and I see that you're needy and that you would qualify for this, but there is no way around it, right? And so that's kind of the hard part of the job, is telling somebody, hey, there is nothing here. The worst thing you can do is give somebody hope or false hope. So you just need to tell them. It's not fun. I do it all the time, but you have to do it. So survivor's pension, just like earlier, the veteran has to meet all of the same items. The spouse must not have remarried after the veteran's death. And then the spouse has to meet all the income net worth limits that are established by Congress, right? So if they remarry after the veteran has passed, there are time frames. It's very difficult. If you run into this issue, the best thing you can do is call our office. I will talk to you, because there are certain dates, and depending on when they remarried or if they got divorced after that remarriage, there's small little loopholes inside of there. And then DIC, so this is the benefit for survivors, so survivors, children, and parents, right? So those are the three people that are eligible for, or surviving spouses, sorry, not just survivors, surviving spouses, surviving children, or surviving parents are the three people that are eligible for this benefit here. The veteran was either service-connected and they passed from a service-connected disability. They were service-connected at 100% for at least 10 years and they passed out of anything, then they're eligible. Or the veteran passed from something that was a presumptive condition, veteran met all of the requirements to have that condition counted as service-connected, but never did, and the death certificate lists that presumptive item, right? Such as a Vietnam veteran who was in Vietnam, we'll say, and passed away, and it says coronary artery disease. Veteran was never connected, filed for DIC, that's something that would be granted, right? So the spouse would be eligible for DIC. So those are the different ways that it's eligible for that. So this is for surviving spouses, married to the veteran at the time of death. You can be separated from the veteran as long as the separation is not due to your fault, right? So pretty common that you see is this veteran and the spouse were separated, not residing in the same household. 9 times out of 10, the ones that I have seen is it's due to mental health. Veteran and spouse did not get along, or the veteran was mental health issues were driving the spouse away, but they didn't want to get divorced. They were just living separately, and then you are able to prove that to the VA, and that spouse is still eligible, right? So they look at things like that, especially when it's mental health, that pushes it away, and which is the most common one. So it's it's still really good, but those are the questions that you have to kind of ask. Haven't remarried unless you're over the age of 55. So that one is a little different too. It used to be 60 prior to like 1993, and then it changed, and there's all kinds of little loopholes inside of there. So if they were ever remarried, you have to look at those time frames as well. And then you live with the veteran without a break unless the separation, like what I explained. So the surviving child or children, if you are not married, the biggest one for this is the spouse and the veteran, or the spouse can't be eligible for DIC. So children are eligible for DIC when the veteran and the spouse were separated or divorced, and so because then the spouse that spouse has no more benefit eligibility because they were divorced from the veteran, so the child is eligible for DIC, or the children. Under the age of 18 or a full-time student up until 23, and they're able to receive that DIC. It's paid at a different rate than the standard surviving spouse DIC, and then it can be paid for up to, however many kids, that there are that are inside of the eligibility. And so that's for surviving the children. And then parent, this one, you never have to do this one. It's not fun. And then there's also a whole bunch of different little requirements. The main thing is there's an income requirement in here, an income limit, and it's even stricter than the pension or survivor's pension income limits. So if you ever encounter this and you have questions, I would highly recommend that you reach out to if you are a service officer, reach out to Tucker or reach out to us at the central office. Otherwise, please find a service officer and reach out to them. Aid and attendance and housebound. So these are the two most mixed up items that people really don't understand that there is a difference. It's not housebound and aid and attendance. They're two separate rates. There are two separate programs inside of the VA. You must be in receipt of a monetary benefit already, or you're applying at the same time of application for a monetary benefit, such as pension, survivor's pension, compensation, DIC. So you have to be in receipt of that monetary benefit, or it's submitted with it. So the VA calls it an ancillary benefit. It's an additional amount that is tacked onto, so for compensation and DIC, it's an additional amount that's added onto that monthly payment For a pension and survivor's pension, it changes their income limits for them qualifying into the program. And by changing the income limit, it almost doubles it most of the time when you look at the annual, the federal limit. If they meet these qualifications, it almost doubles their income limit, so it makes them way more eligible because generally they have more expenses. So for aid and attendance, this is how the VA words it. I pulled it straight from the VA website because I would like you to see how they word it, and it's very hard to understand. Blind in one eye or a loss of vision, have to stay in bed. I don't want to sit here and read it, right? You can read it. It's generally the rule of thumb with this is they need somebody's help taking care of themselves. They can't take care of themselves. They need assistance with their daily living activities. If they have more than, the way the VA looks at it is if they have more than 3 ADLs that are required, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be eligible for aid attendance, right? And so your ADLs and activities of daily living, feeding yourself, cooking, cleaning, dressing, managing your medication, managing your finances, that's what the VA is looking for aid and attendance. That's generally the way to look at it, not trying to read through how the VA words it and in their stuff and figure out if somebody's going to meet it. And then it's also the form, the VA Form 2680. And if you even have questions, I would send it, if that goes to their doctor to get filled out, and then look at it. That's going to tell you right there if they're going to be eligible because they have to mark all that stuff on the doctor has to mark it on the form. So housebound, aid attendance and housebound, it's the same application, 2 separate payments, 2 separate payment rates. Cannot get both at the same time, obviously. Housebound is a lesser paid rate than the aid and attendance rate because this does not require you to need help with your ADLs. This is your disability is keeping you inside of your house and making it hard to go out and do life, right? So it's the wording right here for it. I don't want to sit here and read it to you. I'm hoping that you can read it. The note right here is the big one, leaving home for the medical purposes is not a disqualification. Because a lot of people will say, hey, well, I'm leaving 4 times a week, but I'm going to doctor's appointments. The medical appointments do not disqualify, leaving for medical appointments do not disqualify you from the housebound. So that is one of the biggest things to be able to tell people as well, because they'll say, hey, well, I'm going to the doctor 4 times a week. Oh, well, you're not housebound, right? It's not true. There is the separation there. Okay, so healthcare. I gave you the flyer for the healthcare for how to apply. It has some of the qualifications that are on there. So there were changes with the PACT Act for qualification for healthcare, and there was an extension for people who used to not, one, be entitled to it, and even now it's the if you have a positive TERA or a positive toxic exposure, you're qualified for the healthcare for the minimum time, even if you don't meet the other requirements or the guidelines for VA for healthcare purposes, which is really big because that can actually help them go in, get seen, and apply for any kind of other VA benefits or get that medical care that they might need for, VA disability. So this was the main change inside of the healthcare for the PACT Act. So just like what I just said right here. So this is how the VA looks at it, and so the healthcare change was for the post 9/11 veterans exposure.
Can you go back 2 slides right now? Because that one there. Thank you. That's an awful small window from 1980 to 1981 for veterans healthcare. Doesn't make sense. enlisted after, or entered active duty
Yeah.
after 81.
Yes,
Okay,
or-
sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was before and after, sorry, thank you.
Okay. So, well, I guess I'm not talking to the mic. These are other factors that automatically qualify you for VA healthcare right here. So when you apply for VA healthcare, you have to have income documents and all these other items and do X, Y, and Z, and there is the potential for you not to qualify. If you have this, if you meet one of these right here, this increases your likelihood. If you have some of the items on here, it's going to automatically qualify you for VA healthcare, regardless of if you meet the factors or not, right? If you have VA disability and you're receiving compensation, you're going to qualify for VA healthcare, right? If you do not have that and you have one of these items, it's going to automatically qualify you for VA healthcare. There's a whole lot. There's way more than this. I took a whole bunch off because the print is very, very small, and I didn't want to make a whole bunch of slides about it. These are just the most common things that you're going to run into nowadays, or that we see nowadays. And so, the most unused benefit is VA healthcare. Always push VA healthcare. It's literally the most unused benefit, but it is one of the best benefits and longest lasting ones. And then so these are more of the changes right here, and this is just the time frames. This is the Agent Orange exposure time frames, which also qualifies you for the VA healthcare. So how to apply, I love sending everybody to the VA. I like to send them to the VA in person, because the best thing you can do is have somebody with them, help fill out the application, answer all the questions, and then they can do everything right there. And it's also going to be able to answer a lot more questions than if they're asking you, because if you are a service officer, because I don't do VHA. I will help you with your 1010 EC and I can send it in for you, but I am not a healthcare person. All of my stuff is done through VBA, I'm a benefits person. And so I'm not gonna have all the answers that you might be looking for. I'd rather you go do everything in person and ask all those questions to them. Try to minimize calling here, doing this. Oh, I'll help you, but then you need to go here. Hey, I'll talk to you over the phone or in person if you're already with me, but I want you to go here. Ask all your questions, get everything answered, get the information from there. What else does the VHA have that's also there at the facilities? They have all kinds of brochures and flyers and pamphlets that we don't have, most likely in our offices, right? So they're getting all the information. Obviously, some people can't, and so service officer can help fill it out. They can fill it out online themselves. They can get a hard copy application and then mail it in. So general rule of thumb is if it's done digitally or in person, outside of mailing it in, if you turn it in on a Monday, they're gonna know by Friday. It's done within 5 days. Rule of thumb is you call within a week if you haven't heard back. On the backside of the 1010, the 1010 EZ, which is the healthcare application, there's a question and it says, would you like the VA to call you to schedule your first appointment? If you are doing this with them and then you are applying them for healthcare, please always check yes. They're still probably not gonna call, but always check yes. And then if they don't hear back within a week, make sure that when they leave that you give them the healthcare number and they call a week later. And it's that simple. Yes.
I don't know about the other VA healthcares or anything, but the Portland, I send it directly to enrollment, and I know within an hour they get right back to me. So I either email it to them or I fax it, and I have such a good working relationship that they get it knocked out. They can tell me what category, but that's the Portland. I don't know about the others.
Yeah, so we don't have that. We don't have that ability right now. We're not that well dug in with enrollment down there. So, but it's great.
Spokane is 5 days with the staffing reduction. reductions, we're at 5 days, but online, unless there's something they have to dig for, it is instant, and you can call the next day. If you call the phone number or go online.
See, that's a change then. It used to, even online, it would take 5 days. So when I did mine, you know, well, I guess 7 years ago, online, and it was 7 days. I turned it in on Monday, and they said, hey, yeah, you can call back next Monday. It should be processed by Friday, and you should know within a week. But so if you're doing it online, it's a day turnaround. But it's even on that flyer that I gave you, on the blue flyer, if you look at line number 4 on the front, it says, if you have not heard back from the VA within 1 week, please call this number. I mean, the VA puts it on there because they know that people drop the ball, and it's on there. You need to make sure that they call to get that appointment scheduled. Otherwise, it's going to delay it, and it's getting that first initial appointment scheduled is huge. It's a 90-minute evaluation, so that intake appointment is 90 minutes, and it's pretty much when you tell them, hey, you need to spill the beans about everything, because that's how they're going to start your treatment, and that's going to help them potentially in the future qualifying for other benefits. So I just make sure you tell them, spill the beans about it all, because you're never going to get another 90-minute appointment with them again. So. I gave you the overview. I turned this in before I had the overview all the way done, because I wasn't sure if I was going to have the sheet that I gave you approved to give out prior to this. These are the most common things that we see right here that people call and ask questions about. These few that I put up here, the biggest one is if they're 100% rated, it's the dependents education assistance through federal VA, and then also the state benefit for the tuition waiver. I'll just cover that one really fast. It has to be a state college or university. And then it is not done through us. It is on our website. We advertise it. It is not done through us. It is done through the school. You'll either reach out to the veterans office at the school or the financial aid office. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the financial aid office because it's a waiver, and it's done through there. It's not something that the VA office at the school handles. Sometimes it is, though. It varies school to school. There is no set standard. Yes?
I'm a school certified official, so I handle them. We have for state community colleges at least, we have an online kind of Zoom meeting where we talk about this. Usually it is handled either by records or financial aid, and a big thing for students to know is that every school is different. It's just guidelines, so every school requires different documents.
Yes.
So I get arguments all the time, but
yeah, it's just like people ask, they call and ask all the time, well, does the veteran have to be a resident here? Some schools, yes. The veteran has to be a resident of Washington State. Some schools don't care. As long as the child that's going to receive the benefit is a resident. So it varies. There is no set standard. None of that is set. The only thing that's set is 250 credit hours of the equivalent semester hours, mandated for undergraduate, highly recommended for graduate degree. It's not mandated for a graduate degree, but yes. So yeah, I spent about a week on this problem right here, asking around and talking to all kinds of different institutions that deal with it. So yes.
Don't you have to use Montgomery GI Bill post 9/11 before that if you have your?
This is different. So the one I was talking about is for the dependents. So for the children, they don't have to use. This is the one that's offered through the state.
So even if I have my kids as my recipients, they can use this first and then?
Yeah, you can double dip. So,
okay.
And that's another thing too. So you can use your Chapter 35 Dependents Education Assistance and the state waiver at the same time, which means that their school is paid for, and then they're going to get their, I think this year it's $1,652 is the full-time fee, or not fee, full-time payment. But also too, the thing with that is that's the full-time when they're going to school for 30 days a month, or there was no break during that month. It's paid on a monthly basis, and so it's prorated for, December, when it's 2 weeks of school, it's gonna be prorated, and it continues like that. I will pump this one because it's, I handle license plates, the disabled veteran license plate. So it is, if you are receiving payment at the 100% mark, does not mean you have to be rated at the 100% mark. If you are receiving individual unemployability, so if you're at 60%, if your item, 60 or 70%, and you're receiving your IU, so you're paid at the 100% marker, you are eligible for the disabled veteran license plate. If you have somebody that you assist and they mail it in and they get it turned down, please just have them reach out to us and I will assist. It's not the first time, and it's not gonna be the last time. So I've been working with DOL very hard on this one because there were so many people getting turned down, because you have to turn in your award letter and they say, oh, well, it says you're only 90%. So now they're supposed to look at the money, is what they specifically look for. The homes rated at 70% or above, and the homes is paid for by the federal VA. Also, there's a nice little snippet inside of there, or rated, and that item that's rated is requiring you to be in the home. It doesn't matter the percentage. The item that is requiring you to be in the home is a rated condition. So you can be less than 70 if that one item is the main driving factor that's putting you in the home. Yes. Yeah, I think it was you, and reverse triangle this way. Yes.
I just wanted to say I'm a federal VA hospital worker as well. And this one's a little bit harder, right? With the, let's say you have a 30% service-connected veteran, but that 30% is what's causing them to go into that home. A lot of times it gets denied either by the state home or by the VA is like, no, we're not gonna pay for this. Whatever the case may be, they can always do an appeal.
Yes.
So all they need to do is contact their local patient advocate office. Patient advocate office can help them do an appeal with the chief of staff, and they can correlate, hey, this percentage is what's causing me to need to use that home. So all is not lost if they get denied.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know this is a healthcare question, but the 100% Champ VA, this is more like a statement. If anyone knows the phone number, I can call to talk to Champ VA.
There is now.
Well, like a human being, because I'm tired of waiting 2 hours to talk to somebody. Like every day I wait hours in hold. Is there a number somebody knows? Can you please give it to me?
Yes.
Are you calling a number that's on the application?
That's all I have is one number. and it's
That's
like,
all there is.
That's all I
Yeah.
got.
Yeah.
So 9 times out of 10, VA stuff works on Eastern time, so
Yeah.
you need to wake up, 4 o'clock our time and try and call at 7.
It's always a 2-hour wait time to talk to someone.
Is it a question about Champ
No,
VA?
I
that
just
you're-
have, if someone has like a secret, just come tell me later, like I've had to reach somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
So it says 70% for the state veteran homes, but the issue I've ran into is I've had 80-year-old veterans who want to go to a state veteran home, but they get denied because they're mentally capable, they can dress themselves, feed themselves, and the ones that I talked to, the Dows, says, no, they have to be pretty much incapacitated mentally and physically.
I will let the man to your right talk about that.
Here's our deputy,
There.
all about the veteran.
Who knows all about the home?
So, on that part, I would say that it depends on the activities. So when the veteran is, so when the veteran is assessed, comes to the veteran home, then that's determined whether. But again, as goes back to, I think the audience said, if there's a condition, if it's 30% that requires it to be in a home, sometimes we'll have veterans who are mobile in a scooter and they go off campus, but there's still a part of the condition requirement to be there. But sometimes there are denials based on whether it's safe for that veteran to be in a home. But it just depends on the assessment, because each one is going to be different.
That one keeps going in and in.
Yeah, so hopefully that helps a little bit.
So pretty much where I was getting at though is if
they're totally fine, but there's nobody to help take care of them.
Age,
Yeah.
they're like, I want to move into a veteran home, and they're being denied.
Two separate things. So you've got, do they physically qualify for a skilled nursing level of care? That's what you're running into. So first, they have to physically qualify for a skilled nursing level of care. And then second, you run into your payer issue. So he's talking about the payer issue. Do you want to address the skilled nursing level of care?
Yeah, so with the skilled nursing level of care, it's based on if the veteran requires bathing, feeding, or those items, then that would qualify them to require skilled nursing care. Now, if they want to go into I would say assisted living, then that's separate from skilled nursing care. So what the state veterans home do is skilled nursing care, right? So that's probably what you're running into. But let me give you my information and we can talk offline on that.
And that's where aid attendance comes in. So aid attendance will cover the cost of assisted living. But if you aren't at the unique skilled nursing level. Okay. Can I say, thank you so much for foot stomping that about the eligibility for, and it's not just state vets homes, it's any skilled nursing facility. And I'm a nurse at the VA, and I see this missed over and over and over again. It's not well trained in the VA. The very first criteria for covering, and we're talking, this is a huge benefit when you look at a nursing facility, it's like $10,000 a month. It's the difference of whether families have to sell their home or not. So the very first criteria is, are they service connected for a condition that requires them to be in that facility? So it could even be 0%. And it could be 0% for, say, atherosclerotic heart disease or like clogged arteries, right? And then they have a heart attack. That's connected, it's paid. So please don't let anybody tell you you're not eligible. I fight this all the time.
Yeah, so I'll kind of pick up on what she's talking about. So nurse at the VA, federal VA, right? So there's also the eligibility that the federal VA has is if you are service connected and you go through your primary care doctor, the VA, the federal VA, if there are places available, they contract with local assisted living and nursing facilities, and the VA you can go through your primary care, social worker, and everybody to get placed into one of those as well.
Federal VA does not contract with assisted living. Same thing, we only pay for skilled nursing.
Okay,
We
so
have a
skilled
family
nurse, skilled
home
nursing.
program.
Yes,
That's cool.
the community living, yes,
Yeah, I don't pay for memory care.
yes.
The VA will not pay for memory care. That's not something that we take pleasure in, believe me. That's a mandate from Congress, so talk to your congressional providers.
Is there any other questions? Anything else? We have time. I love questions. I'll continue to talk. And I talked about yours because I run the Medicaid program for us. So I might have talked to one of y'all because I have been calling all the different federal facilities trying to get all kinds of information. So, yes.
I have a question about filing claims. We're running into challenges locally with some DSOs.
Where are you out of?
In Spokane.
Okay.
And they will not file a claim unless it has a nexus letter. Lost my mind.
Who did this come from?
I can talk individually about that, but
Okay.
it's a big challenge for us. I had a vet calling and wanting a nexus letter for tinnitus, and I about broke. So I'm just, I understand that there is a big push to have quality claims. Got that, but where is the line between, I thought we were advocating for veterans, and if it's not illegal and they want to file the claim for it, but you're saying no, you won't unless there's a nexus letter, and they're timing out of their intent to file. I had a vet time out of his BDD because they were waiting for his active duty record to be hand delivered to them because they want their scorecard to look good. Where's the line on that?
So, I will say this, just in general on claims. The only requirement for a right, for a nexus letter is if the claim has been denied, because you need new and relevant medical information to reopen the claim. Yes, if it's first initial claim, as long as there's all you need is the diagnosis, right? So, and there is no standardized, I don't want to say there's no standardized training, but there is no consistency across the board, and like outside of WDVA, we all do everything a certain way, because we are all trained on a certain way. I'm not gonna do BDDs, Victor does BDDs. I know how to do them, and I've done them, but it's not mine, right? So I refer everybody to him. He's not gonna handle anybody that does my stuff, but we are all trained on it. Outside of that, the counties, your nonprofits, the different organizations, they do it however they want to do it. They can also tell them, because like, we're not gonna tell somebody, because we are the state and we are funded by taxpayer dollars, hey, I'm not gonna do this because I don't want to. Like, if they want to do it, we will file the claim. And we will mark it as, not of my opinion, but we filed the claim, right? You know, I didn't want to do this, but I did it, you know, 'cause I can't tell you no. The nonprofits and stuff, they can say no, because I used to work at one and I did claims at one for over a year. And I would tell people no, because I needed something, and then they can just go somewhere else, right?
I'm gonna use this because that might suck. So he's absolutely right. Not every service organization is the same. You know, if you work for a nonprofit, if you work for, you know, a county, they all do things differently. They have the same accreditation if they're an accredited service officer. However, they may have an internal policy that says we're not gonna do DIC. Why they would do that, I have no earthly idea, but it does happen. They may have specific requirements because that's what the service officer would like before they put any claim in. That's not every service officer is created different. As Chal mentioned, if you give us a claim every single day, we'll send it. We will disagree with you 1,000% because you're probably making it harder for yourself, but we will do it because that is our job. And that is why we always recommend using our website to find an accredited service officer, because those are folks that we partner with that, you know, we help provide guidance in regards to providing services throughout the different counties, the different tribes, and things of that nature. And I know he didn't touch on this subject, but I just wanted to caveat, if you walk into an organization and they want to charge you to file a claim, turn around, walk away, and make sure everybody else does the exact same thing. No person should ever have to pay or sign a contract that says, if I get a certain approval, I am going to take a percentage of your disability compensation. There is only one time that a veteran should have to pay for a service, and that is with an accredited lawyer who's an accredited service officer who has a legal obligation or a legal restriction for a certain dollar amount to provide legal advice during Veterans Appeals Court, if I remember correctly. So it's a very, very, very small percentage of people who can do that, but there are rules with that in itself. Other than that, you should never have to pay for anybody to submit a claim to you.
Yeah, and I will say this too, like, it's different, it's different now. What you generally see, used to, it was the, hey, I'm going to sign a contract and I'm gonna take 30% of whatever you get. Nowadays it's not, and it's because they're not accredited, and they say, hey, flat rate fee, and it's $3,000, and then we'll schedule you for all these appointments and stuff, right? They try and take the middleman out, you know, and you submit all of this stuff to the VA. But please, like, we have free resources all over our website where you can find places, like, send them there, look where they are, always pass the information. It's the best thing, or just call us. I do claims by mail because that's how one of my programs works. So it's not the first time, it won't be the last time. And then there was a question, yes?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, actually, just in a previous meeting to this, the Attorney General, the lady from the Attorney General's office was like, please report if you are seeing these people, please turn their names in, turn their organizations into the Attorney General so they can tackle the issue, right? Give these predatory folks at least Washington State. But the other thing too, is I actually talked to the VBA guy yesterday as well, and said, hey, we've got a big issue with these nexus letters, right? I see this all the time with veterans, and as a veteran myself, I see this as an issue, right? Because the VBA VSO is saying, hey, we can't move forward without a nexus letter. The VA docs, 99% of them will not write you a nexus letter because they feel it's a conflict of interest, or whatever the hell that means. And then, so the veteran is still not going either direction, right? They're still just stalemated where they originally were and no one's helping them, right? So I tackled the VBA guy and said, I need you to tell me, how much weight does this Nexus letter actually hold? He wouldn't tell me that, but what he would tell me was that if a provider will not do the Nexus letter, that the veteran can do their own Nexus letter, right? Essentially saying, hey, I, as this veteran, during this time period, I suffered this injury or aggravation or illness or whatever the case may be, to write your own statements and submit that with your claim if you cannot get a Nexus letter. He said they do actually review those.
True,
So-
they do. So it works as, a lay statement for yourself. I will also say this. So there is a policy inside of VHA. So if you are going to a VHA doctor or you're sending somebody to VHA to get a Nexus letter, it is in the policy that they are mandated to provide a Nexus letter. No, there's a new so they just renewed it. I have it in an email. They just renewed it.
Send it.
Please do, because yeah.
Because the policy that we have, I just died on this
It's in the
hill
email.
4 months ago.
It's in the email.
And it says they may, it doesn't say, the one I have.
Actually, it's contradicting in its
Yeah.
own right. So one paragraph says that they are responsible for providing it, and you skip 3 paragraphs down and it says, your primary care provider is not the appropriate person to write a Nexus letter. And it says it in the same RC, or the same regulation.
I'll
So-
look, because I know we just got the renewed policy that was
I hope you're
just
correct.
signed.
That would
And it
be
was,
the greatest
and
thing
I'm sorry, I used a strong word of like must. I always want to say, yeah, they must do this. They're recommended, or I don't think it was recommended, but it's essentially like they're supposed to, they should be doing this because it's part of their job to take care of the veteran, right? But there is a renewed policy that we got because there has been this, we see it, especially like on our end, like, hey, I can't reopen this claim without some kind of new and relevant medical information, right? What's the easiest way, and that also weighs in your favor, Nexus letter, right? And so it's sometimes 18 months, and they're lapsed out of their appeal, their appellate rights or their intent to file, whatever it may be. So yeah, it's something we see.
Believe me, we are just as frustrated.
Yes.
Can a specialist that the VA refers you to do the Nexus letter for you?
Any medical doctor. So,
Can do PAs?
So a PA can't, so think about it. Any licensed medical professional can write a Nexus letter. So think about it in the spectrum. So an RN can write one. How much weight that's going to have versus the prior opinion that was provided where at the C&P exam where they said no, maybe it was a PA. Okay, so if you turn in one from an RN, they're just going to move up one because that person has more training. That's the way that they'll do it because it's easier. So if you turn in one that's from an MD,
Harder to trouble.
harder to turn over. Also, it's how it's written. So it's not just, oh, well, I've reviewed their records and I saw this, I believe that this right knee injury is from their time in service because they were a paratrooper, right? Okay, well, I have also studied these journals where these studies are listed inside of there. You know what I mean? Like, the more evidence that's included in there that doctor specifically says that they're citing from or that they reviewed puts more weight inside of there. So, but yes, a PA, if you turn in one from a PA, your next appointment for your C&P, because, okay, you turned it in, you gave us something, so we have to reopen it now, right? They're gonna send you to, what's the next one? The doctor? I don't know. I'm not a medical person. I don't know what's that for the PA. But they will just continue to move one up with the Nexus letter, and that's how it works. So it's also too, you need to look at it and think about, well, what is the best way to do this, right? Maybe I'm trying to do this and I'm still inside of my appellate rights, but maybe a supplemental is not the best way to do it. Maybe you already have all the stuff and you feel they made a bad decision, right? And you have a bunch of evidence that you feel like weighs in your favor. Maybe you feel like the opinion was bad. Well, maybe it's a better option for me to do a higher level review right here and just say that there was a duty to assist error. So now I'm kind of going in the weeds a little more than kind of 101 right here, but this is what I do, for the programs that I am in charge of. I do all of this stuff, and I'll have these things, but yes.
One of the things because a lot of people are not service officers, I'm a post-service officer in the Legion. I don't do claims, I don't want to do claims, but I work with seniors for 22 years and most of them are veterans and spouses are surviving. And so one of the things I try to do, and if you're out there helping veterans, is I tell the veteran to write a one-page outline of what's happened, or each body part, whatever happened. Have them just write an outline, get their medical records from their doctor, before you go see a service officer. Get an appointment with a service officer, it might take a month to get in. That's their homework to do that. And then when you see a service officer, you're not taking hours of their time. I mean, that's just a suggestion, that's what I do in Spokane. That's just kind of a thing that I do, because if you send an 85-year-old widow to go there and do it themselves, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, they may not know, they don't know the terminology, they don't know the forms, they don't know any of that. So that's what I do to help assist, and I'll even go with them, just as a friend, because I'm a veteran too, and nobody's helped me with my claims back in the 80s. And so that's what I want to be able to help, and you guys are all in the field helping people, so that's just a suggestion.
Yeah, and like everybody does it different, so it really depends on like who they're going to see. I don't want to.
I'm not saying it's an official way, I'm just saying this is
So
what I'm trying to.
the way that I view it, right, is so the onus of the claim is on the veteran. As a service officer, okay, so this is Chal speaking, right? This is Chal speaking right here, not WDVA, this is Chal. I am a liaison in between that veteran and the VA. I'm here to assist with paperwork. I'm here to make sure the right paperwork is done and that it's done correctly, and then I will turn it in for you, right? That is my job, is to help you complete that paperwork in the best manner, right? I know what needs to be on there. I've been doing this for a long time. I know what needs to be there. I know what papers need to go with it. I know what evidence needs to go with it, right? But this claim is the veterans, so yes, they could write a statement or whatever. They should be the ones bringing you the documentation,
Chal,
you're not the one that's good. As the service officer, you should never be the one calling a doctor and requesting records.
I'm not a
from somebody.
service officer.
Oh, for sure.
I work with county vets in Spokane.
Yeah.
This is how I've done it with other people. I help my veteran or the surviving spouse to just get a general outline of what's happening. Because if they go and they're spending an hour talking about this, they're not going to. I'm just trying to help them get organized a little bit before. And then I pass them off to the accredited veteran service officer, so they'll be able to look at this and go, oh, okay, I work with seniors for 22 years. So, understand how they work or they don't work. They don't understand forms. They don't understand. One guy didn't even know what his DD-214 looked like in 1962, and he found it and he goes, is this my DD-214? So those kind of things that just help assist them to get to that place. And then I make sure they get an appointment, or help them get an appointment with the accredited service officer at county vets, and then go from there. Then they can tell them what else they need to get.
Yeah.
But I just try to give them a preview of, what they're getting into, because this is a government thing, and, and they're seniors.
For sure.
So, real quick, something that I kind of have a problem with when I send up claims is someone who did 20 years active duty service. I know what never made it into my medical records from deployments. And I know what I never went to the doctors for, because it's mission first, and I was too terrified that they were gonna kick me out at 16, 17, 18 years, which they tried to. We were told that if we wrote handwritten statements talking about what happened and we put in the details, that our word is supposed to be as if it was in the medical record. And if you go back to Vietnam and everything else, when you had medical buildings being blown up left and right, and you had just nothing was documented. If you're going through these records, you hardly see anything. And we're denying veterans for stuff, even though they're writing down and they're telling us exactly what happened. I'm watching it over and over and over again where they get denied at their word, which is supposed to be like a medical record.
Yeah, so that one's like one of those that's very tricky, right? So you can write your statements and you can submit it. You also still need to have that current medical document, right? And let's just say, hey, I wrote this statement, I was in Vietnam and I had, you know, a tripped in a hole, messed up my right knee. I always use the right knee, right? But I never went to the doctor after I got out from Vietnam time frame in 1975. I didn't go to the doctor and complain about it until 1990. How bad was that right knee injury if you didn't complain about it for, how long was that, 15 years? Yeah, how bad that right knee injury must not have been that bad. They look at stuff like that, right? It's not the total denying factor, but the lack of continuity of care is something that drives inside of those decisions. But it's also, hey, that claim is just going to a station. A judge, and please don't go start filing a bunch of appeals, like board appeals, please don't, that's not the way to do it. But a judge is where that line is drawn as far as, is the evidence that's here weighted, you know, towards the veteran, away from the veteran, or is it in equipoise, right? And if it's in equipoise, which means that it's just right there in the middle, it's in favor of the veteran. A rater is not going to, they're not going to view it like that. They view it as yes or no. That's where you find that middle ground and where these statements come into play. But it's also time too. There's all kinds of stuff, but yeah. I know what you're saying. It's generally those statements for them to count like that, it's only going to be like when a judge reviews it.
I was gonna say, because a lot of times you get veterans who are stubborn and they live with pain the rest of their life and never follow up on stuff.
For sure, and it's super common. Yeah. It's super common.
So 15 years would be nothing.
I mean, yeah. It's, yes.
Something you said earlier about the underused portion of the VHA and people that are eligible for Medicare and they're happy with it. Is there something
They can have both.
double dipping is
Oh yeah. Because
okay?
if you have, the best thing you can do is have VA and Medicare, and you go in, because then they're going to bill Medicare.
Does it work as a secondary?
Yeah. And then it's also like if you have VA, let's just say you're not 65 yet and you have your VA healthcare, you're like, it's mandated that you do get Medicare to maintain your VA healthcare.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if somebody's even just on the cuffs, like, I'm getting close, I've got a little bit of a VA rating, so I can use VHA, there's no reason for me to do add-ons at the Medicaid. Okay, never mind.
No, that's,
All right.
that's not me.
That's just saying I can,
That's not me.
It's a federal
you can do both.
thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Were you gonna? Yeah. Oh, I thought you were gonna say something.
Oh, I was just gonna check to what she's talking about and add on to what you said. So that first 90-minute appointment, so we know we missed some things with the Vietnam era, right? So now, that first 90-minute appointment, anything that's diagnosed within that first year, correct, is considered service-connected.
9 times out of 10. So let's say the veteran gets out of service today and they go to VHA 30 days from now. They have that 90-minute appointment. All those referrals are going to go out to get seen for whatever is talked about inside of that exam. Anytime it's anything that gets diagnosed within that first year, there should be a claim filed. Is the general rule of thumb. There should be a claim filed for it. There are certain things that are not required to be connected inside of that first year, but like 99% of stuff is going to be. But yeah, that's like, I call it the golden year, like you have the golden hour when you're on employment, you get medevaced out, right? Just right when you get out, you have the golden year, and that's to go get seen for everything. Use that 90-minute appointment, go to all your following appointments. Yes, it's gonna take your time and money to miss work or whatever it may be. You're gonna make that money back with your, hopefully your disability, right? Yeah, and healthcare, so. But yes, you can double dip, just like it's like Medicaid and VHA, because that's one of the ones that I do. Jan?
Coordination of benefits.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? Yes.
Hi, thank you. As you may notice, I'm not Melissa Groh. I apologize for missing the intro. I had to help with another session that was having technical difficulties. Yeah, a lot of great information. Thank you, Chal. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for participating today. As we learned today, there's no such thing as a right answer. Every single situation will be different. I mean, not one veteran is the same. They can be in the exact same unit, in the exact same deployment, in the exact same foxhole, and the process they go through will be different because you take into account the human factor. So that is why it's important to seek out an accredited service officer to try and get that assistance and work with that individual to connect them with their earned benefits. I mean, there are individuals who had their medical records destroyed during a National Archives fire. That is a different process to try to get them connected with their benefits. And there are rules that we have to follow, and there's pieces of evidence that we have to present so that the VA can make a decision. And at the end of the day, that is what a service officer is going to do. They're going to take all the information that we can possibly gather to give to the VA so that they can make the determination based on, 38 CFR, which is the law, and as well, the medical evidence provided. So we thank you for that. If you have any questions, we're always available. Yep, the survey is there. If you look in the back, the documents, the slideshow presentation that you have seen today is on our website, and it's going to stay there till 2026, Serving Those Who Serve conference. So if you ever need a reference, it should be there. We are recording today's session, so if you missed a session, give us about a week. Right? Not 24 hours. It's not like trying to get connected with healthcare. At least a week, because we have to upload those videos to YouTube so that if you would like to have seen a presentation that you missed, you can at least watch it. Yes, ma'am.
Can we get today's speaker uploaded today? Because she gave us that 24-hour deadline. If those of us
Absolutely. If you just give me her headshot, her bio, phone number. Which speaker?
Shannon is the speaker this morning. Shannon.
Oh, Shannon. Yes. Her headshot and bio should be on there. Yeah, it is.
We need the video because she put like some.
Oh, yes, okay, so if you want to blame someone, blame me. I purposely did that because I wanted her presentation to be shown when she did that. But yes, I have her presentation and I will get it uploaded before I leave Yakima tomorrow. I promise I will get that.
That's less than.
I have a picture if you want.
Yes, I have it. It will be uploaded. It's on my computer. As soon as I get back to the hotel, I will upload it to our.
Thank you.
If you, please take these. I don't want to take them back.
Have a safe trip
I
home.
made a whole bunch. Please take them.